not a crier. I just I'm not one of those people that says men shouldn't cry, right? That I don't think that should be your first thing that you do as a grown man. But I'm okay, whatever you want to do. I'm just being honest. I don't think so. But I did cry. Like, I watched it. I watched my mom go from walking on the treadmill to not being able to move. I had to carry her in my arms from her bed upstairs to the hospital bed downstairs. And like that moment of carrying her down, I broke down in my head. I obviously couldn't do it out loud because I don't want her to see me go through that. But that night, I probably cried tears that I've never cried before. So, and it was because I said, "Oh, shit, this isn't gonna last long." I think I said it, and it lasted about 2 weeks.
Oh, that's really heartbreaking, and I'm so
Yeah.
sorry that like. Here I am. Here I am.
Yes. What's up?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Good. Well, I want to first apologize to everybody. I have on this shirt because I am on my way to a gala, and of course, they didn't tell me until this morning. So, well, I'm still super excited about it. And one of the things that we tried to, hopefully, they got from the flyer before we introduce ourselves is like, you have been on fire with this caregiving thing. Like, of course, you did it. Yeah. Oh, you've been on fire, Jacqueline. You have been on fire. Like, I've been watching. I've been watching. And so they don't know. Like, I personally wanted her on so she could talk to y'all and we could talk to everybody about what caregiving looks like, the ups, the downs. But one of the things that when I talked to Jacqueline, she said anticipatory grief.
Anticipatory grief is real, and we don't talk about it. We rarely talk about it, and so it's
Yeah.
something that we should know because it drives us crazy,
Yeah.
and we're like,
Yeah.
why? Why do I feel insane?
Yep.
So that's why it's important.
Yeah, so I guess Jacqueline, I guess you can start just kind of give them an idea of who you are for those who don't know. Everyone knows Mama, my mom, but for the 4 or 5 people in here who don't, can you just give them a little background on your story, caregiving, and how you would experience anticipatory grief?
Yeah. So I like to start out for all the people who may not know who I am. I am Jacquelyn Revere. I am a person who stutters. I'm not stuttering like right now, but I will end up stuttering, and so don't get surprised. It is what it is. Um, I began caring for my mom. My mom started showing signs of dementia prior to me actually moving home to care for her, but she was in California and I was in New York City at the time. I was on a subway. My mom's friend called me, said something is wrong with your mom. You need to fly home. The time I was 29. And so I ended up flying home. My mom was taking care of my grandmother who had already been diagnosed with dementia, and me as an only child, I swiftly moved home and began caring for both my grandmother and my mom, who both had Alzheimer's. How that happened, that's a long story for another live, but I became a caregiver to 2 people with Alzheimer's. My grandmother died about a year and a half later, and then my mom died 6 years later. So in total, I cared for her for 6 years, and I experienced anticipatory grief a whole lot and didn't know exactly what it was. And so I'm really happy that we are going to sit here and talk to you about it right now. What about you? Henry, tell us who you are.
So they call me Healthcare Henry. I don't know why. I don't know where they came from. But what I will say is I've been in hospice now for 10 years. So I have a pretty good understanding of grief. And the first thing I tell everyone is grief is a 13-month process. It takes 13 months to properly grieve a loved one. And I think that we try to rush that and not having any patience. What that looks like is that we have to give ourselves grace when we're going through it. But in terms of anticipatory grief, I had both of my parents on hospice. Yes, it will be available later. I had both of my parents on hospice before they passed. And one of the things that, because once you're in this business, you know what you're looking at, right? I've been, I've gotten to the point now where I've known up to the day someone was going to pass, even as far as 2, 3 weeks out. which is very, 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 very strange. I don't know why it's like that, why we can do that, but we can. And the biggest thing that I say for me in terms of anticipatory grief was it's harder to know when someone's going to pass when you know that they're actually about to pass soon. And so I started feeling all the emotions and all the pain and the sadness of like, oh my God, like it's getting close. It's getting close. And I'm not a crier. I just, I'm not one of those people that says men shouldn't cry, right? That I don't think that should be your first thing that you do as a grown man, but I'm okay, whatever you want to do. I'm just being honest. I don't think so. But I did cry. Like, I watched it. I watched my mom go from walking on the treadmill to not being able to move. I had to carry her in my arms from her bed upstairs to the hospital bed downstairs. And like that moment of carrying her down, I broke down in my head. I obviously couldn't do it out loud because I don't want her to see me go through that. But that night, I probably cried tears that I've never cried before. So, and it was because I said, oh, shit isn't going to last long. I think I said it in my
Mhm.
head, and it lasted about 2 weeks.
Oh, that's really heartbreaking, and I'm so
Yeah.
sorry that like this is a life experience that we will all have to go through, but like still, that doesn't make it any easier at all.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah. So, like, for those of you who may not know what anticipatory grief is, it is the grief that you feel mourning a loved one before they actually pass. But that is also very much so coupled with this type of loss called ambiguous loss. And that is the mourning that we have when we completely leave the life that we have to then show up for someone that we love. And so we mourn the person that we were, the person that we thought that we would be, the family that we thought that we'd have. And we just don't talk about that. And it's really important.
One of the things I want to ask you, because as someone who had to fly across country, I don't know if you said that, and if I'm not supposed to say that, I'm sorry.
No, I
As,
did. Yeah, 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 yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay. As someone who had to fly across country, only child that's available and willing to help, what was it like for you watching someone with dementia slowly regress and go through that diagnosis?
Yeah, so that's where a lot of the like mourning comes from. It's actually heartbreaking. What I say is it's one of the hardest experiences to go through because it's very long and it happens bit by bit. And
Yep.
so um the like the process of watching your parent not be able to say words that they could say at one point, not recognize you. There came a point where my mom didn't know that she was my mom, and like that was really painful. And it it's an emotional whiplash that you can't really understand what it feels like until that moment happens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I guess one of my questions is like how leading up to the passing of both of your parents, like was the leading up to it the hardest part, or was it when they actually crossed?
So for my mom, it was leading up to it. My dad, we actually thought had more time. He had end stage renal failure, so he had that coupled with his stomach cancer, and he had a he went to dialysis on I think it was like a Wednesday. I remember, and he had complications. And so my dad was super hard headed. Like I try my best not to be as hard headed as he was. Like he made it to be 80, whatever he was, 83. My dad was much older than my mom, 20 years older, but he was so hard headed. And when they first started having complications at dialysis, they're like, "We got to go to the hospital. We got to take you to the hospital." He's like, "Nah, I'm good. Nah, I'm good." Maybe 15 minutes goes by, he passes out. So then at this point, they just send him to the hospital, but he doesn't make it, right? He dies in an ambulance ride to the hospital. And so that one was different. My mom literally, she's in her house and we have her on hospice and we're watching her. Like I'm watching this cancer slowly, like you say, it's not as slow as dementia, right? Dementia is a 7 to sometimes 9 to 12 year process. But her cancer from August to April, watching from August to January is one thing. January to April was gut wrenching. I mean, it was
Mm,
because at any moment I'm expecting her to die, right? And that's like having to deal with that and still having to go to work and help other people through their hospice experience. It was a lot. Like it was a lot. It was a lot. Yeah.
yeah, like that seems that your nervous system would be on high alert 24/7, not knowing when someone would call you and say like, "Hey, such and such happened." Like it's
Hmm.
just you're on pins and needles.
Yeah. The whole time. And my mom was my best friend. So like having to navigate that space, and of course, like I'm seeing it in real time, and I'm just like, man, can I get just a little bit more time? And for me, for those who don't know, my son was born 2 weeks before my mother passed. So I saw her, and I'm gonna probably share she asked me never to share the picture. I'm gonna share it anyway. I'm gonna share the picture because there's this picture of her holding. It's my screensaver on my phone, holding her, my son at the time, and it's like when I saw that, I said, "Now she's ready to go. She's ready to go." Like, and it's so funny because she never pressured me to have children. Like, never pressured me to have children. But as she's like going through this process and her friends are knowing where she is in the process, all they kept saying to me was, "Man, your mom always wanted a grandchild." And I was like,
Mm,
damn. Like, but
mm,
it's God's way of her getting that thing, right? Even if she didn't get to spend 20 years with him, God made it, just so interesting how the world works. And but I never believed in something before. Like I definitely was overwhelmed by it at that time. It was definitely a precious memory for sure. Yeah, for sure. You also took care of your grandma though.
I did. I took care of my grandma as well,
You don't
and
talk about that a lot.
I don't. It was a really traumatic experience because I ended up moving home, right? And right off the bat, my grandma did not know who I was. And so I would call her from New York City. And so she knew who I was from the phone, but like looking at me, she didn't know who I was. And so once I had moved home, sometimes I'm about to cry. I would be in my room downstairs and I would call her phone and I would just like talk to her because it's the only way that she could remember me. And that was just like a really precious thing. It was the only little piece of her that I had left. Um, and so, like, when you talk about mourning someone who is here, like,
Mm-hmm.
soon as I moved home, and I was like, hey, hey, grandma, and her first words were, "Grandma, I'm not your grandma," and like that, like,
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah,
like that, like first,
yeah,
like,
yeah. Yep.
and so right in that fell swoop, I completely lost someone, and that's a type of mourning that you can't talk to people about.
Mm.
It's a type of like mourning that like people just won't get until they go through with themselves.
How long ago was that?
2016.
So almost a decade.
It's crazy.
Just,
Almost a decade.
are you still grieving to this day?
I think I will grieve forever, partly because
Yep.
there's so much that I wanted. Like my mom and I had a bit of a turbulent relationship relationship, and I had always hoped that we would heal it. And as I was caring for her, I would just mourn the fact that I could never understand certain choices that she made, and she could never like talk me through what her thoughts were on different things that happened in my childhood. And so like that was an ongoing mourning. I'd always like wanted this like mother daughter relationship, like which we had some of it while I cared for her, but it just wasn't the relationship. It's the relationship that I could get, but it wasn't what I wanted. And so I mourn that all the time.
So is that when you say that, do you mean like closure? So where you're never able to get closure?
There's so much closure that I just won't have.
With your mom getting dementia, when you first went out there to New York, what stage was she in? What was that like?
Yeah. So when I left for New York, I was what, 21, 22. And so she wasn't showing. I don't know if she was actually showing at that point, but she ended up flying to New York a few years later. And when she like came out, I sort of like noticed some things, but I wasn't sure exactly what it was. I just thought that she was just sort of like, I don't like New York City, you know. And I'm just kind of like, okay, mom, whatever. But like she lost her train card like moments after I handed it to her. And so for the remainder of her trip, I had to keep both mine and hers.
Mhm.
And like we would order food, then once it was time to pay, she was like, "This is a lot," and I'm just kind of like, "The prices were there," like, and so it was just
Mhm.
you know, sides of her that I just hadn't seen, and I wasn't sure what it was, and I were I to know back then what I know now, I would have brought it to more people's attention. But I just didn't know, and I try not to blame myself for what I don't know.
So my grandfather passed 3 months ago,
I'm
and I
sorry.
don't. No, I appreciate it, and I don't talk about that story a lot because he had prostate cancer. He was 98 years old, and
Mm.
a hospital convinced some of my family that it was the best for him to go get this treatment to try to treat him at 98. Now, again, I'm in hospice, right? Yeah, that was the hardest thing for me. That it was harder for me to watch that than anything I've ever watched. Oh yeah, yeah, that's my granddad. Yeah, Reverend Curry. Yeah, rest in peace. So that was the hardest thing for me to watch because I knew what was gonna happen. I knew because I see it all the time. And when the moment that he went in for his treatment, I kept saying to myself, "This isn't last long. He'll never be able to recover from this at this age, as fragile as he was." And that's what happened. And I would honestly say that was the longest 3 weeks of my whole life, by far, by far, by far. Because I knew it. I saw him. He went home for 2 3 days, left there, went to the hospital for a week, and I was blessed because from there he was able to go to this facility in Peachtree City, Georgia, called the Reserve of Peachtree City, and they took care of him for the last 2 weeks. But in my opinion, it's like knowing what's gonna happen and watching that, I was like, oh my god, I'm still not over that. Of course, it was 3 months ago, but I still have my moments, and it's so funny that we're doing this live because yesterday was his birthday. Yesterday was a wrap for me. Like I did nothing. Today was borderline a wrap too, if we're being completely honest. I,
Fair.
I almost was like, I can't do this. But then I'm like, that's selfish, right? Like that's, who am I to not do that? But that would have been the reason. I'm like, yo, this is what happened. His birthday, and I didn't even realize we were picking the dates, what was going on. I can't say, I'm not gonna say what treatment it was, but I will tell you that when you go and when you're getting advice on these treatments, you need to ask them one question: what's the likelihood of it working? And how much time would I have if it doesn't work? You got like that's the one question I tell people to ask all the time, because the way that they answer that question is going to tell you everything you need to know about that treatment.
I think quality of life has to become more important than long longevity.
Yeah.
And right now, it seems like the only thing that the doctors find important is making sure someone lives longer, but living longer isn't always the right decision if the person isn't wanting to even go through what it takes.
I, I would say that, and I also think that in America, we have a system that is built on capitalism, and we have to figure out a way around that in the healthcare space.
Yeah.
Um, and until we can figure that part out, I think you'll have a lot more of this. When I were talking about like anticipatory grief, watching that 3 weeks, I'm telling you, it's the hardest 3 weeks of my life. I can play back 3 to 4 moments. One, the day he went to get the treatment, the drive down there, I couldn't go. There's no way I was going to that. Number two, the first time that they called me and said he needs to go to the hospital from the house after like 2 days after the treatment. At that moment, I knew, okay, so this is where we happen. So I made a couple calls. I said, look, this is what's going on. This is what's about to happen. I need everybody to be prepared. And sure enough, yeah, that's what happened. So normally when you get those types of treatments, Medicare has it that the person has to stay alive for 14 days. So what they'll do is they'll lower the dosage so that they can still give the treatment. And I think he died like day 15. These are real things that happen every day. Yeah. Yep. So that's why you got to ask that question. Well, what happens if it doesn't work? So, but it is what it is. I have no ill will towards the people that did it. I understand why they think in terms of, like you said, longevity versus quality. But we got to figure out a way where if you try something and that thing doesn't, and Medicare has a rule, if it doesn't work, you get red flagged, which to show you how often they do it and it doesn't work. So, but that's one of those things. You just kind of keep it moving.
I really wanna talk about the way you talk about grief and how you called yourself selfish and like I wish my wish for you is to be a little softer with yourself, to be a little more kind with yourself, because the way we experience grief in this country, it's we're being told to just kind of like shove it down. Like people can hardly take work off. Like there's you're flooded with all of these emotions that are hard to handle, and feeling like you just can't show up the day before your grandfather's birthday does not make you selfish. It makes you human.
So what I would say, for one, I appreciate that. Give yourself grace. I agree. This is what I would say though, and I think myself, I think anyone in our position who has a platform, we owe it to people to help them through their problem, right? And so let's say we come on here and we talk for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever it is. But if we're gonna help, when this video gets released, the way my videos do, the way your videos do, this video might touch 500,000 people. So if I'm able to say I can take 30 minutes in, because I'm kind of suffering through this, if we're being honest, right? And get through this, but I can help 500,000 other people do it. That's some of what comes with you having a platform. And then you decide how you want to use it, right? And that's why when I say, like, yeah, it would have been selfish, it would have been selfish. Yeah, I'm giving myself grace, I understand that. But think about them every time you talk, and you talk with AARP, right? You're mom of my mom. Like, I'm being honest, right? We watch you. We know. And you know, Charlotte shows me everything. So I know. I see everything. And I'm like, okay, I can't not show up for these people. So and I appreciate that, but it's like for 30 minutes, even if I got to get off the phone and cry, right? So what, right? That's if we can help that many people, it's worth it for me. Otherwise, what do we have the platform for?
I I agree with you to a degree
I
because
got you.
I do feel like there is a sense of needing to like bleed in front of people for people to even care sometimes, or like to even like see it.
Mm-hmm.
But the awareness that then comes from it is important. And I do see the impact that we've made talking about care and talking about dementia and all of that. But it absolutely is at the it there is a cost to show up in that way.
But don't we somewhat we owe it though, right? Like we owe. Think about all the
We
benefits.
about to
Like,
argue.
no, no. I mean, be honest, right? Like, because I know like a lot of influencers are like, I don't have to do that. It's like, no, we kind of do, right? Because think about all the perks. If I go out to eat and someone is happy that I'm there, I'm not paying for anything. If we're being honest, right? If I go to a restaurant and the restaurant person is like, "Oh my God, you're here. Can you talk about our food?" Probably not, but well, we're gonna comp it anyway, right? So all of the different perks that come along with it, or people talking to you out in public for no reason, right? How you get perks. So how do we not do our part to help them other people as well?
You must be a big deal out there in Atlanta, because in LA, don't nobody know me. Don't nobody, ain't nobody
I
like,
wish you would
mom
stop.
of my mom. Oh
I
my
wish you would
God.
stop. You're so dramatic. I wish you would stop. That's just not true. That's just not.
Healthcare Henry.
No, that's just not. No,
So yes,
please.
there are, look, the fact that I can show up and call this my job,
Mm-hmm.
the fact that I can reach out and touch people and like really change a situation that can feel too heavy to carry, and like give them my hand to hold. The fact that I can wake up and do something that fulfills me
Mm-hmm.
is like, I am, there's nothing more that I could ask for. And so I am blessed,
100%.
blessed.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I realize that I am also human, and the same pain that others feel, same here. What I think keeps me showing up is that the level of pain that I felt, I know that I can feel joy to that same extent. And so, like, when there's someone who just feels like they can't go further, I do feel like it is my job to, like, remind them that as deep as your pain is, you can feel the opposite of that if you just keep on going.
I agree, and I guess the other part of it is like I get immense joy out of this, right?
Yeah.
Like when people show up, or Like when I leave here, I guarantee it, people are gonna come to me at this gala and tell me about the live that I just did, right? And it's like they're gonna say what they got from it, how they enjoyed it, and they watched it before they went to the gate. And they're all so if they're watching it, they're late too. It started at 7, right? So it's like so it's cool, but like that's a real thing, and I think that I'm a giver. So I noticed that as of late in my life that I am a immense giver and I want to give and I want to feel that it's reciprocated in that sense, right? But when I give to the world, I get so much in return. I get so much joy, so much happiness. And I don't have another way to explain it other than it's almost like and I know people, however you want to look at this, whatever. When I tithe at church, I really get it back 7 to 10-fold.
Absolutely.
I tell people all the time, like when I give to a homeless person, I get it back 7 to 10-fold. A year ago, we fed 2,000 seniors in Atlanta. This year, our company is 6x where we were last year. And I only say it's because I fed them seniors. So what do you think I'm gonna do this year? I'm trying to feed 5,000 this year, right? And it sounds like, oh, this guy's crazy. No, if you think about it, everything that you give to the universe, like the more you give, and you not just taking and taking and taking, you're gonna get something back. And that thing is love. And to me, love, God is love. And so if I can spread that message or however I can spread it, and you obviously spread love more than I do, right? People like you are, I don't know why you keep trying to downplay it. It's just so weird to me. It's like,
We don't have to quantify it. I'm just saying,
oh, like,
I give
it's
love,
crazy.
you give love, we all give love.
So that's just my thing. So that's where I am with it, and prayerfully, hopefully, that someone can get something from that. From that. So if you have time, I have time. We can spare 5 minutes for questions. I'd like for the questions to be about anticipatory grief and not about starting a healthcare business. But whatever they want to ask is cool, and we can go from there. And I'll try to go through. Cause are you? Can you see the questions?
I can totally see them.
Okay.
Um, one thing I would also like love to say is that the way you and I are showing up is also one way to allow anticipatory grief
Mm-hmm.
to not feel so heavy,
Mm-hmm.
is to like share it and also share what we learned, and making sure that people don't feel so lonely. So like we are actually dealing with our grief by showing up.
Yep. Yep. 100%. So this one he asked, he put healthcare Harry, but that's fine. Um, my parent is about to have dental work. Was the treatment about dental? No, it was not. It was related to the cancer directly, and it was prostate cancer. So that would tell you where what it was. Um, and I've got a second. We can answer any questions, and I'm trying to go through to make sure we didn't miss anything. Give yourself grace. Rays of light. I appreciate that. Yeah, I think we try to. I work in the ER and I've seen it all. However, seeing and knowing the decline of my mom, it was still devastating. That is the off-duty caregiver.
Hi.
You know the off-duty caregiver?
I
Oh,
do.
okay, okay.
Yeah. But like the slow decline of a parent, like literally it happens every day, and there's this like low level of mourning that you're experiencing 24/7, and it's like just sort of like sorrow all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's really hard to shake while you're in the process of caring for someone. And so thank you for mentioning that.
Hi, Henry. My cousin Yvette Drake said your family. Yes, that is accurate. Yeah, that has nothing to do with anticipatory grief. But yes, you are right. Yvette Drake. I'll give you guys this story because you brought it up. Her father, Reverend Solomon Drake, and my grandfather, Reverend L.K. Curry, play in the Negro Leagues in baseball together. Now, her
History.
history. Now, her father went on to play in the major leagues. My grandfather was known for kicking umpires and did not make it to the major leagues. So that is a family secret, and she knows that. So you go and tell her that I told you. And I think his brother, Reverend Solomon Drake's brother, the two of them may have been the first black brothers in the major league. The major league.
Rebels.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
love it.
Yeah. So we are family, and she came down. I did see her at my granddad's funeral. I had seen her in like 20 years, but yeah, she was at my granddad's funeral. Yep. That's interesting.
Black history over here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to talk about it, but yeah, it's a thing. I wasn't that good, clearly, but yeah. Yes, you will be able to watch this later. You'll be able to watch this later. I just want to make sure we didn't miss anything while we were talking. And I really enjoy these lives. I really enjoy these lives. There's been a shift in healthcare since all the hospital nursing schools closed.
Ooh.
What do you think about that?
I I know that nursing homes are there are more family caregivers and more people stepping into that role because nursing homes are would rather have full pay clients and not those who depend on Medicaid. And since the Medicaid cuts have happened, there have been an uptick in family caring for someone. And so I can speak to that. But I made a post about nurses on Threads, and they came from my neck. So I don't talk about the nurses. We love nurses over here. Nurses
Yes,
are great.
I'll tell you the truth. So here's the truth. The truth is nursing homes are built in two parts. There's a rehab center and there's a long-term care center. The rehab portion of a nursing home pays that nursing home $15,000 a month. Those people who just need to go in for 7 days, 14 days, 21 days and get therapies essentially. Those same beds are also used for what we call long-term care beds. Those are people who have Medicaid. Those Medicaid beds only pay the same bed $4,500 a month. Now, in the previous administrations in America, they had to do both. Now they no longer have to do both at the same rate that they were doing it before. So that's why you have people who are going home with these high acuity levels and they're like, well, I can't take care of mom at home. No, you actually can't. And I'm sorry. And we're trying to put a plan together for you. But these are the cards that we've been dealt. So that's kind of what you're speaking to. What are some strategies that you would recommend for family members during that period, during a terminal diagnosis and their time a loved one leaves the side of eternity? I'd rather you answer that. Yeah.
What are some of the strategies you recommend for family members during that period between terminal diagnosis and the time their loved one leaves the side of eternity? So, strategies for caring for them or maintaining a sense of self for the person who is caring for them, like, or managing the grief that comes. Since this is about
Yep.
grief, yeah, what I would say is making sure to surround yourself with other people who understand what you are going through. And so finding a support group is really important. That
Oh,
way you
yeah.
can like talk to other people who are
Mhm.
going through similar experiences. And studies have also shown that caregivers who have some sort of spiritual practice fare better than those who don't.
Yep.
And so having some sort of higher power to
Yep.
believe
Yep.
in is really important.
Yes.
On top
Go on. I love
on
it.
top of on top of that, many go into advocacy also. And so, you know, when you are experiencing the weight of care, it can then push you to then make sure that there are changes in let's see, that happen, and on top of that, many get into their local political campaign as well.
Yep. I think that's correct. I think, and we talk about faith. We don't talk about faith enough. I think we try to play it off, or our generation has kind of gotten away from having faith because we think we're just so goddamn smart and everything has to be like, we can't believe in the Bible or whatever religion it is. But the reality is, no, faith matters, right? It really matters. And when we're talking about, and I can talk about this specifically with hospice patients, I can tell you 100% of the time, people who have faith and believe in something are willing to fight a little bit more than other people. It is
That's
a
real.
fact. Yep, it is a fact. So I will say that. So I gotta run. If you want to keep it going, that's fine. But I gotta go. 'Cause I'm already like 45 minutes late. But I want to do a follow up, and I'd say hopefully in a couple weeks we can do that because I would love to do a follow up.
So since you started this live, I think once you end it, it's ended. But this is the first, and there will be plenty more.
Yeah. So I appreciate y'all, and I love y'all. And to mom of my mom, thank you, Jacquelyn.
You did it.
All right, y'all.